Welcome to the TUE Brew Review. This week we are checking out Lindemans Framboise, a Belgian raspberry lambic. So this episode of TBR is dedicated to my friend Rich. I had met Rich back in 1991. We actually formed a homebrew club together at the inaugural organizational meeting. There were 4 people, and I was one of them, and Rich was the other, and a couple other guys who are now on the Mount Rushmore of that now defunct beer club. But that meeting spurred over 3 decades of beer club meetings and homebrew competitions, brew-ins, beer fests, and other beer-centric nonsense. And more importantly, a friendship that it had forged over beer that I will always cherish. And Rich had many talents, but amongst them was he was a bartender at a local bar, and he helped curate an amazing lineup of beers there. Now, mind you, back in the 90s, beer-centric bars were few and far between. You had to go, where I lived, you either have to go into Chicago or Milwaukee proper to find the really good beer bars. But out here in the northern suburbs, Rich was at the helm of a bar that had some amazing beers, and Lindemans was one of them. And not only the fact that they had it on tap, but the way they served it in the fluted chalice that came from Lindemans with the gold rim on the top, as they did with a lot of their beers. They paired them up with the proper glassware. So not only their beer selection was fantastic, but the way that they served them was next level. And again, back in the 90s, we really didn't see too much of that out in the suburbs. But let's get into this beer. Lindemans, this is a 6th generation lambic brewery. And when we talk about lambic beers, those are spontaneously fermented beers, and lambic brewers are in Belgium, usually out in the countryside. This bottle, it's a little 250 milliliter bottle, although it comes in the larger, basically champagne size bottles. But this is plenty for sipping on. This is a generous, I'd say, a little over 8 ounces. All kinds of descriptions on the beer. You can see that Framboise means raspberries, and there's some raspberries on the label. Wild yeast fermentation, exceptional complexity, crafted by the wind, because the airborne yeast would settle into the unfermented beer and ferment the beer. So that's what basically creates the spontaneous fermentation. A couple other things that this beer has that make it unusual, other than the spontaneous fermentation, is the unmalted wheat. That gives it a little bit more of a grainy wheat character in the beer. And also, they used aged hops when they make lambic beers. When they age the hops, that reduces the amount of naturally occurring microbes in the hops, and that further allows that wild airborne yeast to really take over and get a hold in the primary fermentation. Lastly, these beers are very low in alcohol. They got tons of flavor, but I think this thing clocks in at around 3%. ABV. So let's go ahead and get into this guy. And I'm actually going to, I don't have the fluted Pilsner glass with the gold rim, so I'm just going to serve it up here in this champagne glass. Oh yeah. So you get the gorgeous, the gorgeous color, nice pinkish red with maybe a little bit of touch of amber in there. And you get the really nice frothy pink head, and lots of effervescence, as it should have. Already holding the glass from here, I can already pick up tons of aromatics. Wow, massive amount of raspberries, but you're also getting that graininess from the unwheated malt. That is very strong in the aromatics as well. Cheers. Wow, juicy. Sweet, tart, juicy raspberry. Also, again, the weedy graininess comes in as well. So those are the 2 big players in the flavor. Yeah. Also getting the kind of that earthy funk. It's very subtle and subdued, but it's that Belgian wild yeast character, and also a little bit from the aged hops. But really getting that Belgian funk that I get from a lot of the lambics and a lot of the countryside or farmhouse ales. And then the finish, it's a long finish, tart, fruity, but also it's very well attenuated. It's kind of as sweet as it is, you actually get kind of a dry, crisp finish, and it really dries out surprisingly well for such a sweet type of beer. Yeah, overall, what else can you say? This is a world-class beer, just chock full of great flavors. And more important, it brings back some great memories of a very good friend. Lastly, my friend Rich was a huge Bears fan, so in honor of that, I'm going to make my prediction here for the 2023 season. The Bears will win 10 games, and they will take the North Division. So there you have it. Lindemans, Framboise, Belgian Fruit Lambic. Cheers, Rich. Go Bears.